Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Brahmanandam Paramasukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasyagi Lakshyam Ekam Nityam Vimalamachal Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Triguna Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om. Adoration to Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasishtha, in Utpatti Prakarana, section 79. The story of demoness Karkati continues. It's allegorical. So don't go after the story, but go after the teachings. Just to remind you, Karkati was a terrible demoness who practiced a lot of austerity and secured the boon. In the first stage, in gross stage, she was able to eat lots of souls, lots of creatures, devourer of human beings and all types of big demoness. But she wanted to have more extension in her joy and pleasure. Probably she lacked her teeth much, so he wanted to suck blood. So practiced a lot of austerity. And when Brahma appeared, he asked for becoming a needle type so that can penetrate anyone. And the boon was granted. Some time passed, and she regretted having become a needle because there's lots to sip, her needle cut, until all sipping. So she practiced austerity again. But now the surprise happened. She was given the power to eat up anyone with a but, with a condition. A list of questionnaires were prepared. And she must ask those questions. If a person is unable to answer those, if anybody who answers those questions, she will not eat them. So that was a restriction. You can eat everybody, but not anyone who can answer those questions. It's an oral examination. Simple point to understand. The gross impurity is mala, gross. Anger, hate, greed, all together, put together is gross. Karkat. Karkat is all that is garbage in your life. All that you accumulate on the basis of anger, hate, etc. is just wastage. It's a waste, therefore it's wastage. But then, trying to remove from that gross state, one comes to subtler state. But the subtler state is vasana, subtle desires. And when impurity begins to appear in the subtle state, it's more destructive than what appears in the gross state. You can figure that out, how it happens. Virus is the example. How would viruses attack you? To cure for that subtle vasana, that's tattva jnana, knowledge of the self. The same energy process coming from nature that had created impurities, the same becomes the source of your vasana, subtle desires. The same, when it is moves towards in a divine way, it becomes tattva jnana, knowledge of self. So impurity goes into different stages. Impurity, again, you have to understand from broad point of view, is not a reality. When impurity is removed or impurity is burnt up, no ashes are left. Impurity is like a short-circuited energy. When you have short-circuited energy in your house, it's a lot of problems. But angry with everything. Your stove, your refrigerator, and everything. But when it is corrected, you don't know whom thou should you go after. You don't go after, there's no need to. So when mala becomes corrected, mala is short-circuited energy. Your energy is going towards a negative direction. And you have no control over it. That's mala state. Vikshepa state, you come to recognize your error and you are trying to control mala. But subtle desires, impressions in your subtle state of mind, they continue. You have not cured your deeper level. If you go further sadhana, then the cure develops. You develop a discrimination between who is going to be dumped, who will become enlightened. What is ignorance that binds you or keeps you in bondage, and liberation that takes you out of bondage. Now your mind begins to see. That state of energy is what Karkati has become. And therefore, she plays double role. If you can't answer it, Karkati is going to dump you in the cycle of birth and death. That's the way she chews up people. And if you can answer it, Karkati becomes a divine Devi, like Goddess Saraswati. And there is a mutual adoration. With that setting, let me go through now the real purpose behind this story. Understanding about the nature of the self. Always understand when we speak of self, first it goes towards you. Who am I? Ego is not you. Call it bad news, call it shocking news. Ego is not you. But it's not an ordinary understanding. Extraordinary austerity and good karmas have to be created to be free of the domination of ego. There are many stages which lead you to go beyond your ego. During sleep, you go beyond your ego. That's very easy. But to stay in that level, that's enlightenment. And enlightenment has its own process. The lower self in you has built up its strength by austerity. Austerity, we have explained that you have continued to sustain negativity, even though God provided many positive things. You refuse to be inspired by seeing the sun rise. You refuse to be inspired by the soft breeze and hearing the birds sing. You shut all that, put a plug in your ears, and listen to cheap music. And so forth. I'm joking. When that type of dull-witted state is sustained day by day, that's called austerity of the negative in you is doing austerity. And it becomes your nature, becomes, you cannot separate yourself from that negativity. If that is so, then you are as if you become a prey to Karkati. In other words, you continue with your cycle of birth and death. The self in you, easier illustration is, consider the sun as the real self. There are countless reflections of the sun in every jar of water. Each reflected sun is in a different predicament. However, if you turn your attention to reflected suns, each sun will tell you voluminous stories. But you turn your attention to what is the reality behind the reflected sun. Who am I? Then the answer comes if you follow the whole process of integral yoga. If you stay in intellectual level, then the answer cannot give you complete satisfaction. But when you attain intuitional level, the answer is, I am that. Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. And that's the teaching given by Guru to disciple, Tattvamasi. You are not the ego, you are that. And now this is the same subject is now being given you in an extended way. The self is the basis of the triad of seer, seen and sight. It's called Triputi, triad. And the scriptures are never tired of this. Describing triad. And it is important to understand that. You go to sleep, you are alone on your bed, and you enter into dream. In dream, you split up into three directions. The dream subject, who is experiencing the dream world. And in your experience, you find not only you are experiencing, that countless people experience. And you find the world. Every soul, every personality in the dream world is in a project. Focusing your attention on yourself, just you as a subject. You are not the reality. The dream subject is not you. The dream world never existed. It has absolute figment of imagination. Nothing as real. But that doesn't matter. When you suffer agony, pleasure, pain, sorrow, grief, they seem very real until you wake up. In the same way, the world that is experienced by you and what you think of yourself You are thinking of yourself led by your conditioned mind. And your conditioned mind gives a reflected view of what you are, not reality of what you are. So therefore, your I am in you is not real. And even to your own eyes, your I am has gone on changing. As a baby, your I am was looking for little toys. You grow up, your toys change. You grow up further, changes occur in your ego. So you are not with the same ego, but ego that's constantly changing. So that's not your reality, it is something that's different from you. And of course, the world you are experiencing, that's not. That experience of the world in your dream, that's not real, that's easy to understand. Your pleasure and pain in your dream, that's unreal. But what the scripture wants you to understand, apply that in your practical life. No matter how engrossed you are in the feeling, this is me. The reality is you don't know you're me. You're simply bowing. The next point, the world you are experiencing, even from scientific point of view, you are picking up from the world based on your senses. And senses are not the ultimate. Your eyes could be much better. You could have telescopic eyes. Different animals have different types of vision, different types of perceptions. Change the perception, the instruments of perception in you, and you experience the world totally in a different way. You don't have to go hard, just put on red specs, the whole world becomes red. Miracle. So therefore, the world is not reality, it's not real. Soul equipped with a different nervous system, different types of mind, you see. Every soul experiences the world depending upon how the mind has been fashioned. Same world, one who is a devotee of God sees divine love oozing from all objects. Same world, one who is enlightened sees nothing but the self. And so forth, one who is gripped by malas, gross impurities. The same world provides all the sources of enjoyment from impure. If you are angry and anger, then look for angry people for inspiration. And the world provides you with millions of examples. Now, having understood that point, and we have to go on understanding it, seer, seen and sight, all is illusion. But what's the cure for it? Bring integral yoga in your life. Understand the profounder purpose of your existence. That purpose is to turn your action, do your things in life in such a way that they open a window in your heart. They allow your heart to develop purity. bhava shuddhi. Action should turn into karma yoga. Your emotional, sentimental feelings should turn into bhakti yoga. Everything that you love, every relationship that you want to keep, behind that, God's love is the reality. Every bucket that shines, the reality behind it, the sun is reflecting it. The same sun, not the bucket. And likewise, your mind must be handled by strong will. The will comes by dhyana yoga. Your mental process must follow the technique of meditation, one-pointedness. And that's the basis behind all your education. You begin to learn how to focus your mind, concentrate. And finally, Jnana Yoga, turning to that intuitional revelation. First to know intellectually, all is Brahman. And as a result, intuitionally realize through intuitional revelation, I am Brahman. That movement is just like you come from sleep, you wake up. There's a transition. Similarly, as if you become awakened in a spiritual way. And that's the goal of life. It is the indivisible, immutable self. The different terms are used in Sanskrit. Indivisible. That means achyuta, immutable. Brahman cannot move away from his status. His status is immutable, unchanging. These are all verbal words being used, and words cannot exactly bring out the meaning. And Brahman cannot be divided. But this indivisible, immutable self, that truth, satyameva jayate, truth is one, absolute, indivisible. That becomes a transient subject, running after illusory objects. The same Brahman turns into triad. And now, in the realm of triad, every individual is Brahman, but is running after acquiring things in the world to become secure, to be happy. And there are lots of illusions in the mind. What is meant by happiness? Putreshana, let me have lots of good generation, sons, daughters, grandsons, and secure them. That's one type of dream of life. Another, Vitteshana, have lots of money. Lokeshana, have lot of popularity. That's what every individual works for. But behind all that, there is illusion. All this, think of a dream that will last for a little longer period and allows you to fulfill all your ambition. Let me dramatize it. Your ambition is to get all the mangoes collected. And you have them all collected. And by the time you see them all collected, you wake up. Not a single mango near you. But until that awakening state comes, you are constantly led by illusion in your dream. Similarly, you are constantly being led by illusion, maya, avidya, ignorance. And the error goes on from life to life. And in that error, you repeat the same experience again and again. On the other hand, when you begin to practice integral yoga, a different change occurs. Your tendency to repeat the error begins to move away. You learn from your error and say to your error, thanks, I learned from you. Goodbye. And I'm not going to repeat it. Easily I'm saying it. But moving away from error is always a slow, depending upon your strength, is a gradual progressive movement. In brief, you are creating illusory impressions of your achievement in the world of illusion. And those impressions lead you from life to life. There is no end to it. That is what we know as karma. Soul gripped by karma. The three worlds which are experienced as a result of one's karma are sustained, contained in the self, even as dreams are contained in the mind of a dreamer, or a banyan tree is contained in a tiny seed. The role of karmic movement. Karma is not leading you to anything real. If it was real, then you don't have to do any more karma. Whatever you are gaining by karma is not a real gain. It's an illusory, erroneous concept in your mind that you have to understand, subtle point. Karma-based attainment is perishable, transient. It's called karma phala, fruit of karma. If you are after fruit of karma, then there will be no end to it. But if you learn the art of nishkamya, not fruit, but the divine root, who is making me work? Who am I? What is my source? As you move towards the source, Godward movement, then you begin to discover that the world is not a solid reality, it's kind of a dream. So feel yourself relaxed. And you will be more relaxed, you will understand the world is God's fun. He's enjoying his fun. It's Leela. The sun creates all illuminations. Rainbows, shimmering clouds, all different types of colors. And a poetic way of saying, sun is enjoying himself, having good fun. The self, Atma, Paramatma, Brahman, these are different words, are synonyms. That Brahman is described as the subtlest. Even the subtle term is because your mind is constantly holding the world as a reality. So you want to measure Brahman in the terms of your measurement. And so Brahman is described as subtle like an atom. But it would be better than the scientists say, 1,000,000 times subtler than that. But still it is palabra, you see. But as long as, but there is no other way. Words and teachings lead your mind. They are the pointer. They are fingers. If someone is pointing, this is the star, and look at his finger. How shining nail. And the color of the nail. I'm joking. Similarly, people make mistake. You go after the stories of the scriptures, words that are given, and the mind doesn't go after where all this is pointing to. But that art has to be learned by constant satsanga. Therefore, all religions speak the same truth. But people who are not highly mature, they go on fighting against each other. And a lot of energy goes in fighting, proving my religion is the best. Another example, all these are allegorical examples. Where did this big banyan tree exist? How did it begin? A tiny little seed. And with a kid mind, you want to know, break the seed. And try to see what caused from that seed the whole tree to come. I was surprised. There's nothing substantial. It's not even like chocolate. One of the Upanishads gives that as an illustration. A guru tells his disciple, bring me the seed, break it, and tell me, what do you see? I says, Guru, I brought it, I broke it, I see nothing in it. I says, oh disciple, this nothing becomes the entire tree. Now whatever I'm leading to, Brahman is like that seed. From Brahman, this entire universe arises. In other words, all the world you see is not, just like the entire dream arises out of a little seed of your vasana. And even that seed has no reality. What is that rock-like reality before which even the Meru mountains become as tender as a lotus stalk? What is that rock which contains millions of mountains within itself? All these become like a big riddle for students. First point to understand, when we think of something very secure, people give the illustration of a rock. Make your walls out of rock. But then, science tells you that nothing is absolute rock. It's all made up of atoms, and in between the atoms there are little holes. In other words, it is not absolute solid. Absolute solid doesn't exist. Subtle passages continue even in the most dense type of rock. And it's not possible to have anything absolutely impenetrable. Nothing in this world. However, pure consciousness is beyond that type of limitation. Pure consciousness is absolute self. Any scientific and other illustration I'm giving is allegorical. Brahman cannot be measured. Even from ordinary point of view, you can go after reflected suns and reflections and study their situation and position. But you can't go after the sun. That sun stage, all the things that have emanated from the sun, they become Maya. Sun alone is real. Similarly, Brahman, the Absolute, alone is reality, and that's what you are essentially. The self is invulnerable and immutable. Sanskrit word immutable, abhyaya. Everything in this world is mutable. No matter how strong any object is there, as with the passage of time, something is wearing off from it. A mutation starts taking place. Some change fast, like the candle flame. But the candlestick doesn't. It takes its own time. The entire world is subject to that type of change. But with Brahman, that fault doesn't exist with Brahman. While mighty mountains eventually crumble into dust, the self is unaffected by time and the changes caused by time. Understand it more in a profound way. All that you experience, human experience, is in 3 levels. First level, physical reality. Physical reality does not encompass all your requirement. In other words, you can have wonderful palace, you can have wonderful garden, you can have millions of acres in your possession. Are you happy? Happiness is not anywhere. That happiness is something else. So come to next level of experience. Experience based on your feelings. When your feelings bring about the cuteness of experience, then you develop a different type of world. Friendly gathering, unfriendly gathering. A world of feeling level, that's what all humanity is constantly agitated about. And that's a different realm. And then comes a third level, understanding. What is the purpose? What is the goal? How to be saintly? How to be enlightened? This is termed as Bhutakash, Chittakash, Chidakash. First level of reality is the physical space. Bhutakash, filled with bhoots. Who's this ghost? It's- Everything is changing. Chittakash, space created by your mindset. How does your mind imagine? How does your mind dream? And all these impressions of your mind define your space. And ultimately, the absolute space that doesn't need any definition. That's the reality behind all that. For easier understanding, think of cinema show. The real space is the screen. On that screen, mind creates projections. Now in the projection world, there is space, there is time, there is causation. And all the space, time, causation go on, and if you are interested in it, you are absorbed in it, shaken by it, and go through lots of experience. But all these are projections. What is the reality? The screen. It is the screen that is the atom that has created all this show. Speak in allegorical language. Similarly, that's pure consciousness, that's the reality in every individual. All you are experiencing is the drama created by your mind. Even within 24 hours, lots of changes occur through your mind. In deep sleep, you unmind your mind. You don't care. Time and space don't exist. But you are not surprised. Rather, you are just happy you had a good sleep. Then you come back. Now your mind guides you. What type of day you will have depends upon the impressions, what type of memory has entered your mind, how you are being guided your mind. It's thinking of things of the past, your dreams for the future, and now that defines your day. That's the way your day will begin. And sometimes your definition of the day will depend upon some occurrence, some omen. You got out of your house and suddenly see a big vulture. Now your unconscious has drawn certain type of vasanas that are not very advanced. And you yourself had determined and made a prophecy. Since I have seen this ugly owl, this day is not going to be good. You make a prophecy. And bravo, you succeeded it. The mind, on the other hand, is operating with positive vasanas. Then you happen to see a peacock dancing. And if your mind is highly mature and advanced, you're not depending upon peacock dancing or vultures. Everything brings you a touch of God. So you have to understand there are different levels. Whose strength enables you? The Karkati asks the question. Whose strength enables you to perform your duties? By whose strength do you protect your subjects and punish the evildoers? because it's a dialogue with the king. King protects the subjects, but by whose strength? And turn away from the story. The question is asked of everyone. By whose strength you are able to eat and digest it? By whose strength you are able to perform all your duties? What makes you perceive objects of the world? What defines your life, your awareness? Can you handle all that? And the answer given, the strength of the self sustains all activities. The self is the reality behind the human ego. The self is the true knower, seer, enjoyer, and doer. These are the big questions. Who is the doer? If you go into deep reflection, you realize nothing within you has the power to accomplish anything. Put your nails near you and say, grow. You have no power. It's a divine creative power that operates through every tiny little element and cell and bone within yourself. And follow the most highlighted statement. Who is the light of lights? First point, how do you experience the world? By the light of your senses. Senses are the light. If the senses were not there, if eyes were not there, ears were not there, these are the illuminers of your perception. But then, what is the light behind your senses? Because senses themselves do not complete your experience. Mind has to be with your senses. If mind is not there, your senses can do all types of things, watch around, and you have no real experience. And even mind brings in lots of clutter, karkat. And it's the intellect that keeps the karkat under control. So intellect is the light behind your mind. But what is the light behind your intellect? You get into cosmic source. And ultimately source of all source, Brahman, the absolute. That Brahman, God, is operating through every part of your personality, blinking through your eyes, breathing through your nose, sucking taste through your tongue. Brahman is behind every experience, touch, smell. Brahman behind your negative thoughts as well as your positive thoughts. Any awareness, the absolute awareness is Brahman, the absolute. And that's what you are. And that movement toward discovering who am I gives you the real meaning to your life. You live your life with such immense taste of sweetness. Bring your life to such an extent That you are not counting upon your sons and daughters and grandsons for your happiness. You see the entire world. Set up any type of relation. You are the father, all these are children. Or you are a child and all these are mothers. Makes whichever way that suits your mind. But it's all cozy, comfortable family. So that's realizing I am Brahman puts you to such immense joy that the world cannot ever give you. Knowing this, one must keep up in spite of all challenges. And challenges should be viewed as a part of sadhana. Same God source has provided all. Because of the challenges that people come to satsanga. Otherwise, there are very good things to do. That's joking. The king said, so far the answers were being given by king's minister. And Karkati began to scold the king that you are stupid, your minister is doing everything. And the king then began to speak. Both of them are highly enlightened. O Karkati, you have asked me about the nature of the self. It is this self which is support of the three states of consciousness, waking, dream, and deep sleep. It is attained when all the desires of the mind are removed. In other words, if you attain self-realization, it is a state described as param tripti, absolute satisfaction. All your desires are fulfilled. But not having attained enlightenment, if you attain lots of money and lots of progress, that's not param tripti. You have satisfaction, and Sanskrit term is sankusha tripti. You have satisfaction on one side, and Yama holds a little nail on the other side. So you can't really enjoy it. Your satisfaction is not absolute. But when you attain enlightenment, it's called nirankusha tripti. Contentment where there is no ankush. No one is holding any restriction on you. It is absolute, no limitation. So understand the difference between gaining satisfactory situations according to your desire in the world. That's good for a while, but that's not reality. The absolute goal, the satisfaction, that's absolute. Another point to understand, all the desires that are there in the mind are due to illusion. The self needs no fulfillment. All trouble that you are gaining, experiencing in your dream, wake up, all the trouble is negated of your dream. So again, allegorical way of describing it. And with this I'm going to conclude. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukum Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyamamritat Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukha Bhag Bhavet Om Shanti Shanti.